welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today we have technically a recurring guest on here. He has been on the podcast once before, a long time ago at a little place called Celebration, but hey, it's a bit different when you get the man, His Royal Highness on the mic himself. It's King Tom Chansky. How you going, mate?
I'm doing great, Josh. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be on a proper version of the show. Not that the previous encounter was improper. And now that just took it to a whole new level, but that's okay.
It was just sort of running around sticking a microphone in people's faces and stuff. But I went back and I just checked. I was like, I'll just make sure that has he been on before? Has he been on before? And I think that was trailer day at Celebration, I believe
it was. It was, I think, right after the trailer too.
Yep.
Because we all went to the food court area, and we had our little table that we'd kind of congregate at, and was it Hawes and I?
Yeah, it might have been. I'll have to double check. I was really just looking for your name.
Okay.
I was ignoring who
and I
else
think
was
Turbo
there.
or someone came on also.
Yep.
If I recall correctly, there were a lot of microphones and faces back then.
Yeah, but that was good.
Didn't have a problem with that.
It was good for me because I'd come from a place of trying to do the podcast here and really struggling for guests, and then sometimes having to rope in family members and trying to convince them to get on a microphone. And then you go to Celebration and every second person's like, yeah, give me that microphone, I got something to say.
Yeah. And then I've noticed a lot of the people like Jessica, she was the last released episode I listened to, but met her at Celebration, became a guest that way, so it's worked out pretty nice.
Oh, post Celebration, it's actually been really easy to find people. I think we got a little bump off the back of being at Celebration, and then you just meet more people and contacts and things, and people a bit more comfortable. It's not so much out of the blue and things. You get the courage up to ask King Tom on your podcast.
And it was the best giveaway at Celebration too. That helped.
Yeah. You definitely got one too, Tom. I remember. So
I did. That's one of the few things I'm looking forward to about colder weather, being able to wear my Star Wars Spelt Out beanie and my Episode 9 beanie.
I actually put mine through the wash for the first time the other day. I'd never washed it since it came back. Actually, that's not true, because my one that I wore at Celebration didn't come back because I remember we got to the very last night and I'd given them all away. And we were at the Bad Motivator house, and then Dallas came up and he was like, "Oh, bro, what am I gonna get one of those beanies?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude, they're done. Like, you got one. I gave you one like 3 days ago." He's like, "No, bro, I don't know what happened to it." So I was going, "Oh man, I'm really sorry. They're all done." And then I just thought, "Oh, hang on, I do have one more beanie left. I'll give you the beanie off my head, Dallas, because I knew I had a couple at home still. So, so hopefully he's washed it."
If I ever have a podcast and schedule a guest and they can't make it, I'm calling you in, because you have these near flawless impersonations of people, especially us Americans. It just brings a smile to my face every time I hear it.
I can do 2 out of the 3 motivators. Cruise is too hard.
I've tried to do. Yeah, I tried to do Eric once on the Sith list because I was filling in for him with the Star Wars bit, and I'm like, "Hey man," and later on, Raj goes, "Are you trying to do Eric?" I'm like, "Yeah."
What's up, guys?
What's up?
I am Eric Strider.
Ace job.
I
See,
totally
there you
forgot.
go.
When I had Brittany Brown from Canada Bite a few weeks back, I totally forgot because I was going to start going, today I'm working on my Star Wars podcast, and today I've got my special guest, Brittany Brown. Hi, Brittany. I always like that. And then I always just love Emily just like, hey, Brittany, how's it going?
Yeah.
Talking about other people's podcasts, that's what it's all about. Now, I was just thinking, when you've got the king on, King Tom, I was just thinking about Star Wars kings. Are there any Star Wars kings? There's plenty of queens. Now the one gets name dropped in Force Awakens, doesn't it? That's the only king.
King Prana. And
yeah.
I think I'm trying to think. I mean, in Legends you have the Naboo kings.
Oh yeah.
The guy before Padme was King Varuna, I think, but that's from Legends. Yeah, I don't think there are any in.
Is Bail
canon
Organa
material.
technically a king?
He's a viceroy.
Right, but he gets to have princesses as children.
Well, it's Bria. His wife is the queen by blood, so he married her.
He's like the Prince Philip.
I
of the
think.
whole thing, is he? Right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not good with our Earth royals. I'm much better with galactic royals.
I need Charlie Ashby or Catherine Neen, actually, both very, very good on the royals. You know, we're a Commonwealth country down here, Tom. We get that hammered into us from a young age.
Right. You have them and BB-8 on your money.
Yeah, that's right. BB-8
That's something I figured out with Turbo at the Steel event. He showed me an Australian 20. I don't even remember why. I'm like, did you know there's BB-8 on your money? And he's like, no.
I'm just
and so we all went crazy over it.
I don't have one. I've got a couple of 5s. I've got no 20s. Just shows who carries cash these days anyway. Really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, how was your Triple Force Friday? There you go. There's my Luke
Triple Force Friday.
How was your Triple Force Friday?
There you go. It was all right. I'm not a huge collector. I did go to Target after dropping my kids off at school because there's one right by, just to see what they had. I got a Funko Pop for my desk at work, and I think they're asleep, so I went did a little bit of Christmas shopping.
Ooh, nice.
But yes, thank you. Really, other than that, I kind of I like looking. I like seeing what people get, but we don't have a lot of space here, so I don't collect a lot for myself. And it's also really after the Force Friday I had for the Last Jedi. Anything after that is a letdown, because you got one of the targets. Yes, one of the targets here. They did a midnight thing, and I was one of 2 people at that location to get a giant porg.
If we talk about not having any space in your house, that porg's probably
the giant
permanent spot on the couch or something. And
yes, it has more space than my kids and I and my wife put together.
Yeah, the midnight thing was funny because I was in touch with Andy Campbell, our friend Andy Campbell, and Chris Fresh from Geek Dudes, and we were sort of going, what's going on? Are they going to do any midnights? Because they used to have Toys R Us here, but obviously Toys R Us is gone, just like it's gone in the States.
Right.
And it was a bit like, I don't think there is anything. And then we've got a 24-hour Kmart about 10 minutes drive from my house in this suburb called Burwood, and they've got a 24-hour Kmart. And I thought, maybe I'll just call up and see what if they're doing anything, just to see. So I called them up and put through the toy section, and the guy, I don't even know if he knew where he was. I'm just going, hi, what's going with the Star Wars stuff? He's like, yeah, we've got Star Wars stuff. And I said, no, but there's new stuff coming out tomorrow, and because you're 24 hours, does it mean that at midnight you'll have the stuff on the shelves? He's like, I don't know, like, it just depends when it gets put out. You better to come, maybe just come out at 11:30 and have a look. I'm like, I'm not going to come unless you know for sure. So
right,
I basically, and to be honest, what difference does it make? So I did a similar thing to you. I came in once I dropped my daughter off. I went to the city for work and got in early and just walked down to Target and a couple of places, and a few things. A few places had things. So I got the Jedi Knight Luke Black series. So
okay,
that was at this place called Zing, which is an offshoot of EB Games, which is like it's actually our branded GameStop. So that was like their exclusive. So I got that, and that was one that I really wanted. I didn't even know we'd get it here. So I got that, and then I picked up the Ray the next day at Kmart. It was about $30, and then I've ordered a couple of little things online. So I have ordered the carbonized Mandalorian, which I haven't seen. I haven't seen anywhere here. So I ordered that from a site in the UK, and I ordered 4 of them. So I've got one for Andy, one for Chris, and one for myself, and a spare. So not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, my Target, it was the same. They didn't have much on the shelves. They had a few things out, which is, I got what was out, but I think a lot more of the collectible stuff, and maybe even the Poe Dameron X-Wing, someone said, they had the tag for it on the shelf, but it wasn't out yet. They weren't ready. They should know. It's Star Wars. It's Triple Force Friday. They should know. They should have that stuff out for us, because we will be there as soon as the store opens.
Well, it seems like on the whole it was pretty successful. I think most people kind of got stuff, so who wanted it.
Yeah. And it was very, I don't want to say well reviewed, but it was well received.
Yeah.
At least I think people want more Last Jedi stuff, but we also as fans understand that a lot more of that stuff is coming after the movie comes out.
Yeah, so when the Dark Side Ray Black series comes out and all the other stuff, or what, you know, like I'm not a spoilers guy, so I don't know what's coming, but I can certainly see that that's what they're, you know, everyone knows Kylo and Rey's in there, so they can put that stuff out without too much trouble. But yeah, you don't want to see a I don't know, whatever they've got up their sleeve. Whatever. Are you a spoiler guy?
A Black Series Lobot.
Yeah.
I am to a point. I'm done with spoilers now. I've stopped listening to certain podcasts that I otherwise enjoy just because they're all spoiler talk. But I know everything. I don't want to say everything. I know a lot of what was released up until early August or so. Yep. If it's a Target spoiler, to use the term, I know it. I'll see those and look for those.
Did you do that? Did you go through Last Jedi? That's all right. It's in a similar sort of thing. Did you sort of cut off at a similar spot?
Yeah, what was
the biggest spoiler you knew going into any of the latest films?
That Han was going to die.
I didn't get much bigger.
But then again, that was also the type of thing where
it was kind of assumed, wasn't it?
It's a Star Wars movie. There's going to be a lightsaber fight.
Yeah,
you know. If you're paying attention and knowing that Harrison Ford, while he loves Star Wars, he doesn't want to do it all his life. You had a feeling that was going to happen. So I knew that for The Force Awakens, and that was confirmed for me. It didn't ruin the movie. It didn't ruin the moment in any way. Rogue One, I knew a few things, but I feel like a lot of that you knew it was going to happen also.
Yep.
The Last Jedi, though, I cut myself off early. Watching the trailers and the promos, I had no clue what was going on in the movie. I had all this stuff in my head, but I went in not knowing any of it, and I loved it.
Yeah, I'm the Target spoilers guy too. Like, as long as, which isn't really spoilers, anything that's on the toy shelf is totally cool, but I don't sort of seek stuff out. I don't. I remember not really spoiled myself. I stupidly looked the day before Revenge of the Sith came out. I think the picture book or something leaked, the storybook, and there were these photos of like crispy Anakin, or sort of, you know, on the thing, and for some stupid reason I clicked on it, and I'm just going, you know, immediately regretted it as soon as I did it, of him, you know, on fire and all sort of, like, that was dumb. Why did I do that? I never went back after that. That was the days of, you know, the old Force.net and all those sort of, you know, highlighting the text over the thing. And
right. I was spoiled for the prequels, but I think that's because I felt like you know what's going to happen. You know the ending. How they get there is one thing, but yeah, I don't remember that spoiler exactly, but there was something I looked up. I want to say it was Order 66. I saw the term Order 66, and I think I Googled Order 66, and it brought me to a site that had a detailed explanation a day or two before Revenge of the Sith came out.
What was it like back in the day with spoilers? Like, did pretty much everything get out beforehand? Did they sort of not learn their lesson about the internet back in the day, how easy it was for stuff to get out? Do you recall? I mean, I know little things came out, but obviously they're a bit more locked down now than they try to be.
I want to say there were set pics from Tunisia as early as 1997, but they were appearing in European magazines. There were photos of Qui-Gon and Maul from a distance in the desert.
I do remember seeing those, I think.
The scaffolding of the Queen's starship in the desert. Mm-hmm. So things like that would appear. And I've actually been online for Star Wars going back to November of 1992.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My father got a computer, and I remember reading, I think it was in one of the Dark Empire comics, that they had an item that there are people talking about Star Wars on Prodigy and America Online, and I went on to the America Online forum. It used to cost $6 an hour to access the internet back then. Yeah, and it was just really cool because there was a bulletin board with a bunch of messages and people were just talking Star Wars. And there's like, I saw something about the Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3 in this magazine. And then people would post what they want to see. And even like going back then, people would share what they knew, but then there was a lot of speculation and garbage mixed in. But for episode 1, there maybe around December or January, there was a site that had snippets of the movie, but it didn't have the context or it didn't have the correct images. Like it said, it opens up with a group of starships that look like a donut with another circle in the middle around a planet.
Accurate.
And they made graphics, crudely photoshopped graphics of what they saw going on. And one of these sites had, Sebulba interfaces with Anakin's engines, but they thought that Sebulba was a Hutt. So it had
like
a picture
Sebulba the Hutt.
Yeah.
Plausible.
So it had a picture of Jabba next to one of these crashed engines
With like
in the
a
desert.
screwdriver in his hand and a
photoshopped. And I think they even had a little picture of, little Anakin photoshopped there too. But I remember getting a lot of information, but even then I didn't read any of the last act. It was all the first act for The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I remember sort of touching. I got on the internet in sort of probably 96, and then my first year of university, 97, I was doing a multimedia course, and we were the only students who got 24/7 access to the internet. So we had like a private computer lab. The first multimedia course in the country, it was in 97. So we got 24-hour access to the internet, which meant that everybody just spent their time on the internet without actually doing any work or anything. But it was all like Force.net, JediNet, Super Shadow, all those guys around that time. And then like StarWars.com sort of just came on. You get those little snippets of information and things, and I dabbled a little bit, but I was quite conscious of not being too spoiled, and that's the same here as well. But I don't know. Like the rumor is in about a week's time we'll have a trailer. Now the trailer rumor fired up a few days ago, didn't it?
It did. It started. I think a lot of people are looking in. The going off tradition. It's everyone ties it into Monday Night Football, so they're thinking it's going to be a Monday in the next few weeks. And there was that tweet when they retweeted the guy's dog picture and it said 14 out of 10, which a lot of people switched around, take to mean 10, 14. So people are thinking, next week. But there were a few people who said, it's going to happen Monday, as in 2 days ago, the 7th.
Yeah.
Sadly, we didn't get anything.
Unless we went out and nobody noticed, but that would be that'd be interesting.
It was labeled as the Cats trailer, so no one watched it.
except for Struthers.
Right.
Because they had there's some sweet Taylor Swift going on in there.
Yes.
But
it'd be a Bad Motivators exclusive about the Rise of Skywalker trailer because he's the only one who watched it.
Look. When it comes, it comes. It's always a good day when the trailer comes. Do you try and as soon as you hear, you just straight on the phone? Do you need to get home, get the lights down low, turn the thing off? Or are you just more like, I've just got to see it now before it gets spoiled for me?
It comes out probably around 8:30 p.m., 9 o'clock p.m. our time. They don't narrow it down because it's always whenever this football commercial or whenever the football half ends.
Yeah.
And so, I don't watch football. I don't even have cable. So I will refresh Twitter and have YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars constantly refreshing.
Yeah.
For this time now in Australia, when do tickets go on sale for you?
Well, this is the thing. I was having this discussion with someone else the other day, or even today. We were talking about going, it's all well and good to drop a trailer and get the hype and go, here it is. But if at the end of the trailer and they say, hey, tickets are on sale, then I've got to scramble everybody and go, what are we doing about this Star Wars thing? Like, are we, because traditionally we've done the Knox screening down at midnight with Steel Wars and
Okay.
the fan club have put the Star Walking fan club have put the screening together, and then you go to the midnight screening, and then there'll be the live Steel Wars show, and it all finishes at like 4 a.m, and blah 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 blah, and everyone has a great time. Although this year it looks
And you
like,
see it before we do.
and we see it before you do. Yeah, exactly. The irony being that for years we were, left out in the lurch and left behind. But this year we're not sure whether Steele's doing the midnight show or not. Obviously, he lives in America now, so we're going. All right, will we still do the midnight thing? Should we go to a different cinema? There's a whole bunch of different options, basically. But if they drop this trailer and then they say by the time this trailer's done, tickets are on sale, I feel like I should just buy some tickets to something just to be safe. Like, I know that you're a bit of a nervous Nelly when it comes to the tickets as well, aren't you, Tom?
Yeah. Well, first of all, they always say it's supposed to be at the end of the trailer. But for both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, they went on sale hours ahead of the trailer. But I've seen every Star Wars since Attack of the Clones in the same theater. It's like 5 minutes from where I live right now. It's not a... It's a decent theater. I like it a lot, though. But for the last group of movies I've seen, or I've wanted to see, they're going back to Spider-Verse. Their pre-sales have not worked for this one theater. It's this large chain here called AMC. Every other theater of theirs works, but not this one theater. And even if I try Fandango or another site, it doesn't work. So I'm thinking, instead of staying home and watching the trailer, do I just drive down there, buy them in person, and then come home and see the trailer? Because I'm buying tickets for 9 people.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking.
Copyright King Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours is pretty good. Our online booking stuff's pretty good. We've got sort of 2 major chains here, and it's all pretty straightforward. There's a few independents as well. If we do the Knox one, it's a bit more like you buy a ticket and then you get allocated a seat on the night, and you're kind of at the mercy of where you get put, which is a little bit of a crapshoot. Because Force Awakens, I was sort of second row on the far right, and it was a bit of a nightmare spot. Every other year it's been good. So,
is it like based on when you get there in line, or is it just a random
kind of
draw?
Yeah, I'm not too sure because I've had taken a group of friends along the last couple of years. So I've had 4 or 5 friends. So I feel like they go, hey, if you want to put these 4 or 5 seats together, we put them, you know what I mean? Like they go here. And I think I was sort of down the pecking order because I wasn't in the fan club. I was coming through Steele's thing. So, and Steele had sort of said, I can help you out with 1 seat, but if I've got a bunch of people, then it's a bit different. So, yeah, we'll see. Every other year it's been okay. So, and then I tend to go a couple of days after, of course, as well. But yeah, I feel your pain. But do they usually give a little bit of run up to this trailer coming, don't they? They'll usually say a few days in advance, hey, the trailer's going to be on Monday Night Football. Yeah,
I think people are expecting because here in America, we would get the poster the day before at about noon. And then the afternoon, you'd start seeing like the 2-second snippets. Like for The Force Awakens, it was BB-8 rolling through the jungle, and it was Finn and Poe meeting underneath the X-Wing.
Mm-hmm.
You see like 2-second snippets from the trailer, and they say trailer tomorrow. So I think...
The trailer for the trailer.
Yes, the teasers for the trailer, which I hear a lot of people hate, and I can't say I blame them, but yeah, we'll start seeing stuff Sunday, hopefully. And for some of us in here in America, it's Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, and a lot of people have the day off.
Right.
So
it kind of makes it does make sense, doesn't it?
Be nervous. Yes, it does. It does. I am taking off the Thursday and Friday after it comes out also.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll be off as well, actually. I start my Christmas vacation rolling into my parental leave, so I'll be that'll be the beginning of my I'm taking 3 months off to become the primary caregiver when my partner goes back to work. So that starts in January, so I'm like, all right, I'll just finish Star Wars Day and then I'll finish off for the year and I'll let it roll on into the next year. So hopefully get a few screenings in. But I mean, do you feel like that someone is immediately on your heels trying to take those promo seats from you, Tom? You know, that you've got like a seat rival around here who's like, every year that King Tom beats me to those prime seats for those Star Wars screenings. But
Well, we
is it
start
midnight? Do you
my
do
theater.
midnight, or
No, we well, okay. My theater started doing 7 p.m. The first showing would be at 7 p.m. Started with The Force Awakens, and way back then it wasn't assigned seating. They didn't start assigned seating till The Last Jedi, so I had no problems. You know, I went at 3. So I waited, 3.5 hours before they let us in the theater. Got the seats I want. I was maybe 20 people back. Same thing for Rogue One. I was a little bit closer. Got same seats I wanted. But The Last Jedi, they switched to assigned seating. They also started doing these. They have a special fan preview. Instead of starting at 7, it starts at 6. You get there's a 5-minute featurette and a giveaway item. Which was like a pack of postcards for The Last Jedi. For Solo, it was the metal dice.
Oh, that's nice.
Which I have in my car. My wife hates them because they clang around whenever we drive. The other thing is,
having a Han Solo.
Yeah, it's an hour earlier, but it's also, instead of the usual $12-15. Well, this isn't in the IMAX, so it's more like $15 to $17. It's $25 ticket.
Ooh, just to get there an hour before everyone.
Yeah. But it's worth it. And the other thing is, opening night, and this is kind of a thing that my friends and I started going back to Revenge of the Sith. I see it twice opening night.
Oh, right. So you go in, then buckle up, go around again.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, the very first time for Revenge of the Sith, it was a midnight, and then a bunch of my friends worked in TV, so I went with one group of friends to midnight. The other group was going to another theater across town at 3:30. So a friend and I drove from the Lenox to downtown, met up with their group, and then I think I got home at 6:30 or 7. It was a really fun day. I was a lot younger. I didn't have kids.
Oh, well, that's what I did. For Last Jedi, we did the midnight at Knox, and we had which finished at 2:30 in the morning. Then we were straight over to the pub for Steele's show, which went for another hour and a half. So that was probably 4:30 in the morning by the time we got out of there. And then Andy Campbell was going to get his now fiancée to come and pick him up at 4 in the morning. I said, "Don't do that. I will drive you home so she doesn't have to get out of bed." So then by the time I drove him home and got back to my house, it was about 6 in the morning, I think I got back from Last Jedi, though I wisely took the day off. I think Force Awakens I got the day off, and I paid for that. So that's hopefully this year I'll just be able to back it up and go again, but I'll just have to see. It's all getting pretty real, isn't it, really?
It is. It's getting closer, and I could see how. I would kind of want something from Steele, especially if he was going to be in Australia, just because you've had one and those are fun shows. I've listened to them, and that would just take a lot of energy being out of the audience, or being in the audience, taking energy out of me just listening to.
Yeah. Oh, look, they're great fun, but at the same time, I can understand it's a long way to come to put a show on, but we're hoping.
Right.
But if not, we'll just we'll find a way. We'll still have a little posse of people to go see it with. But it's just weird though, because all this Rise of Skywalker stuff is sort of coming up. I keep forgetting that The Mandalorian is actually coming first. I just keep going, oh yeah, we get a whole Star Wars show in between now and December.
Yeah, it's my kids ask me all the time about Disney Plus when we're getting Disney Plus, because I've told them all the other stuff that will be on it, and I don't know if they'll be able to watch The Mandalorian with me, judging by some of the things we've seen in the trailers, like the helmets on the pikes and the man-eating door. But
I think he gets stuck in that door. I don't think he chops. I don't think that's a killer door. I don't think. Certainly, it's like a lift door. If you stick your hand too close, it just it doesn't.
It's like a paper cut door.
Well, maybe not a paper cut, but I think you just get stuck both ends, and you look like a bit silly. But we'll see.
Like Winnie the Pooh.
Find out. Yeah, like Winnie the Pooh. And then the manual just goes up and smacks you on the bum with that long gun that he's got. Just electric. Is that electric? Is it a cattle prod at the end of that thing? I don't know. We'll see.
That would be my guess, but thank you for spoiling that scene for me now. But yeah, it's you kind of forget that, and that we're only. I think. Are we going to get the whole first season, or are they going to do it like Rebels, where they show part of the season, wait for Rise of Skywalker, and then show the other half after?
Oh, I don't know if they sort of split it out. I don't know. What does how many episodes is it confirmed? 10?
I think so. Yeah, I don't. It's either 8 or 10. I don't know. I know it's fewer than a Marvel series, and those Netflix series go on way too long.
So if it drops on, I've just got my little calendar here. If it drops on the 12th, which is a Tuesday, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which would run up to Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Okay.
So 7, 8, 9, then would run into January. So yeah, they might split it and wait and take a week or two off, or they're just going, hey, double your Star Wars. You could watch The Mandalorian, the 6th episode of The Mandalorian, then go watch Rise of Skywalker the next day, which is weird actually. I kind of thought maybe they'd run one right up into the other one, but yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I wonder if that's one of those things that they had a plan and then Disney told them, well, we're launching Disney Plus in early November, so change your plans for us.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, if you obviously the longer they have exclusive content on there, the better it is for Disney Plus. So maybe they say, hey, look, if we can steal a couple of weeks back where no one's going to care if we have nothing new because there's a new Star Wars movie, that just means we've got an extra couple of weeks in January where you're going to get new stuff that we don't, can still say, hey, part 2 of season 1 of The Mandalorian coming in, January 5th or whatever. Or yeah, I never really thought about that. But you're a day one man, I assume.
I'm going to be. I don't know exactly. Like, I haven't planned out my day or anything yet. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, watch it at midnight.
But you don't have to worry about your rival at the cinema now. You don't have to. The only guy you got to worry about is that giant porg on your couch who's stealing your prime spot for watching The Mandalorian.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have to worry about anyone stealing my password and locking me out of Disney Plus or anything like that. But it's going to be interesting as a longtime Star Wars fan to start getting. I don't want to say that the Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, and other cartoons, animated series aren't important, because they are. I have a lot of fun with them, but it'll be interesting to start getting this other very important canon material through the TV instead of going to the movies. Which
is, going on what we've seen is looking like movie quality sort of stuff, and I think also just this. Post Return of the Jedi stuff, it just fascinates me completely. Like I like the idea that the galaxy's kind of gone to hell because the government's basically been destroyed. So hey, it might work great if you can control the center of town, whereas everywhere else it's just like a free for all because mum and dad aren't watching anymore.
Yeah, and I had this idea I sent into Cano Bite Dispatch where the guy played by Werner Herzog, he's not some general or decorated military veteran. Instead, all of the military leadership left, and he is like the Undersecretary of Agriculture and Tourism, the highest ranking Imperial government official on this Tatooine, which I'm guessing the planet is, and he's the one who stepped in to fill the power void.
He's like, well, normally I'm just about zeros and ones and, signing contracts and things, but hey, I'll take a little bit of power vacuum.
Right, I'll send these stormtroopers over here, no problem. Like you said, I want to see this period of lawlessness. I'm really looking forward to seeing the universe explored.
I'll just be curious whether we get, just if they start talking about people like Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and, or obviously the rebellion will be mentioned and things, but if they're just like, hey, Luke Skywalker could turn up any minute now and clean house, or just what the general gist of what the message is post Return of the Jedi. It's just sort of like, obviously words got out, the Empire is not really that strong anymore, but it just I just find that really fascinating. I know a lot of people have read the Aftermath books and got Life Debt, and they talk a little bit about that kind of stuff, but the immediate after the first couple of years and things, when there's a bit of lawlessness, it's quite fascinating to me.
Yeah, and that's a really good question, just looking at it from a show perspective. Do you need to do that name dropping to make people feel like it's a part of the bigger series, or are people going to feel that on its own? Yeah,
that's right. Does it just sort of... How much of this I mean, I know from the jump it's going to be 95% probably just Star Wars fans jumping on this thing from the start. But does it work? I mean, I guess you got a little bit more leeway, because they always talked about making a live action Star Wars show years ago, and you was like, how's this going to work? Like, it's just going to be on like network television, I guess, and like, is it going to have commercial breaks and things? And I feel like the Disney Plus here, it can be a lot more niche. It doesn't really need to probably pander it, I suppose, to the general public. It probably can find its audience enough just out of the Star Wars fans. I would
think so, and it's very interesting from a business perspective how they expect it to go, because like you said, do you try and find new fans? Is it based on the number of viewers for any specific thing? There are no commercials. It's just a whole bunch of other non-Star Wars questions in my head that just grow and grow and grow the more I think about it.
Or like, are you trying to get new fans, or are you trying to get old fans? Because it's a very, it's got a lot of familiar stuff that people who might not be, who haven't engaged with the movies as much as they used to and stuff, and they're like, hey, there's a bloody Mandalorian there. There's a whole bunch of Return of the Jedi looking sort of things, and maybe this is my bag. But it's a curious one. I mean, it's got to work. Like they're committing a lot to this. It's But like I said, how do you judge it? I guess, could you judge it by the bunch of Mandalorian Black Series that sell, or can you? We might not know. How it's how much more people are going. I mean, with no movies coming as well, like a lot sort of riding on it.
Yeah, a movie is a lot easier to judge based on what it does at the box office than how many people are watching something on a streaming service.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will be nice if it does pull in more fans. I'm always about more Star Wars fans, but I'm hoping that there's a certain segment of the fandom that on its surface something like this would appeal to. I am hoping that it doesn't go out of its way to appeal to them.
Well, yeah, I think, like you said, on the surface it probably looks like that, but I think
right,
you scratch a little bit and you sort of the cast and the crew and the voices that they've brought in and things, you kind of go, oh, it looks like that they're sort of catering to more people than just a certain section of fandom and stuff. Even though they've got a particularly cool looking lead, but I don't know. I mean, what interests you more, like an Obi-Wan or a Cassian? Do either of those interest you more than one or the other, or are you just sort of like, whatever? So I'll just go with the flow. Like, would they have been ones that you would have picked as the next sort of series? I mean, Obi-Wan kind of feels like they've just been waiting and waiting and waiting, haven't they? Really?
Yeah, but it depends on how they do it. Because if it's just Obi-Wan in the desert, I'm not saying I want Obi-Wan to go anywhere, because what I would like is I'd like them to bring in Liam Neeson and have him do Force Ghost, Force Voice, and do some weird, not Mortis but Mortis type stuff with it, because that would get me very interested in it. And I'll watch it no matter what. But if it's just Obi-Wan in the desert, I'm much more interested in Cassian, because I really love the idea of the rebellion, how it came together. Bail Organa, Enfys Nest, Cassian, what we've seen, what we know. I'm very into that type of thing.
We were making the joke when I had Catherine on. Catherine Need on a few weeks ago, we were talking about the Cassian show particularly. We were sort of making our predictions and things, and we were talking about that big mural at Celebration that had all the characters and things on there, and they had those sort of, it was kind of weird because they had those real life versions of Rebels. They looked like real people, not animated, and everybody was going, oh, look at the Thrawn just looks like Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
And I just said, maybe they've actually already cast the Rebels for this Cassian series, and they've just stuck them in plain sight in front of everybody. Nobody noticed at Celebration, and then when they filmed this Cassian show, they just chucked the rebels in there. They're like, oh yeah, they were all there all along. Didn't you see Pierce Brosnan as Thrawn? We put it in front of your face, 18 months ago, and nobody batted an eyelid.
Yeah, that would be some incredible casting if they did that, because I think everyone had that reaction that, what's Pierce Brosnan doing up there? I wonder if he got some royalties for that.
It's like, I've been sitting on it for 2 years. They just said, bide your time. People will laugh then, but he'll be laughing later when you rock out.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm looking to that. Are you a gamer? Do you do the? Yeah, of course you do. You do all the game stuff with Hawes, the Masters.
Yes.
Of Harvest Casty. So, are you
Exactly.
booked in for Fallen Order? Do you do the new consoles?
I am. That's one of those things that it's sneaking up on me. I know it's coming, but I'm not like, I am like Rise of Skywalker, and Mandalorian, and oh yeah, the video game's coming too. I have to like
day. Is it the week before?
It's a few days before, I think. I know my wife's birthday is around there too. My wife's birthday is the 14th. I think Mandalorian might be the 13th, and then Fallen Order is a few days ahead of that, if I have everything right in my head.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I am looking forward to it. I was there for the panel at Celebration, and I fell asleep during it.
It had been a big few days.
Yeah. Well, it was that and the Galaxy's Edge panel, and
did you go to the Galaxy's Edge panel?
I did.
My favorite part of the Galaxy's Edge panel, which I wasn't there, but I remember I got up in the morning. We were at the house in Chicago, and we were sort of having our breakfast and things. And it was like our day to, we'll go in a bit late because we had the Star Wars event that night. We knew it was going to be a long night. I said, we'll just come, because we'd been in all the other panels and had to get up early. And I put my iPad on my desk when I was having my cereal or a piece of toast or whatever I was having. I was like, I'll just check in and see what's going on. And there was all these people up on their stools and things, and I just go, and what we're going to do now is we're going to play a little bit of music from the cantina or something like that. And then they just played this music, and they're all just sitting there on the stools just sort of going, like slightly like they were bopping along to this music. And I'm just going, what is going on in this panel?
Yeah. Well, I sat through that one because you had to be in the morning one to be in the afternoon one.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see Fallen Order. And the thing about, I had an incredible time at Celebration, and even though the panels weren't the ideal panels for me, I was hanging out with a lot of friends, sitting there and making fun of the stuff on stage. And the Fallen Order, it was, we got the one trailer, but I at the time I was hoping to see more gameplay. I wanted to get more of an idea about the game itself, rather than just talking about the game.
Yep.
But everything that we've gotten since, because I think we've gotten another full trailer and a half trailer and some gameplay, and it looks good. I'm definitely more into the single player games than the multiplayer ones.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I like playing Mario Kart, but most multiplayer game things now you can't even have your friends sitting around. It depends on the game, but like I would have liked Battlefront more if I could do some split screen like it was GoldenEye or something. Like I'd find that more fun. That's where I come from. Right.
Well, that and the way you connect with it like that, but also it feels like the mechanics take some time to learn, and then as soon as you learn it, they make changes to existing things. And like they change the hit points of characters and character strengths and weaknesses, and it feels like that in every multiplayer game I've ever played, where I get used to it and I get good, and then they change it.
I just go online and I just get my butt kicked by some 12-year-old who's calling me a punk ass, and I have to mute his headphone or something. And I just don't have time for that. I played Fortnite a little bit when my brother got into it, but to be honest, like I got a bunch of when I was at that Fallen Order panel as well, and they were giving out the posters and the Xbox coupons, and I think everybody we were with were all PlayStation. I said, "Oh, I'm Xbox. Give them to me. I'll take the coupons." So I've still got 4 of them that I haven't even used yet.
Nice.
That are just sitting on my shelf next to my Xbox. So I'll get around to it. But
I play on my PC, so we're always forgotten when it comes to that sort of thing.
The poor old PC people. Doing it ghetto. Now we're in the home stretch here, Tom. You're
okay.
a plethora of Star Wars information and questions and things, and you've got all the info. What do you like? How's this saga going to have to end for you to feel satisfied? Are you a go with the flow man? Have you got a checklist? You're a very relaxed man, but you also have things that you like.
Yes, I do. But the thing is, I did this for The Last Jedi, and it made my experience much better, where I will have ideas and headcanons and things I'd like to see. For instance, for The Last Jedi, going into it, I had this idea I loved for how Rey could be Luke's daughter, and I thought it was great. But then, leading up, as the movie got closer, I'm like, I might want to stop putting my eggs in that basket.
You're not going to bet the farm.
Exactly. In early December, I said, I'm just going to let that idea go. And I'm very glad I did, because I liked my idea. I still think it was an okay idea. But I love
was
what
it? Can you spill? What is it?
Okay.
Well, take me back. This is post Force Awakens, obviously. So
okay, post Force Awakens. Luke Skywalker starts a training academy. Has a bunch of trainees from different races, different species. I think
say a bunch of girlfriends.
Yeah, well, but there's one person who he develops a special relationship with, and she has the gift of precognition, where she could see the future. She sees the temple massacre and decides, without telling Luke, just to leave because of the whole prophecies tie to the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves. After she leaves, she finds out she's pregnant.
Oh.
And something happens where she ends up on Jakku, becomes sick, and has to give her, let someone else raise her child. So that was my idea, and it's not the best idea. I liked it.
I've heard worse. Don't worry.
That's all I want. That's all I want. I've heard worse. I think Rey Nobody is so much of a better story point, especially because I like the idea that anyone can have a bond with the Force. We're all part of the Force. Anyone can, and we all have different power levels, but you don't have to have a certain last name. So I made myself let it go, and I'm very happy I did that. And while there are things that I want to see, to me, this is about Rey, this trilogy. Yes, Kylo, the Skywalker legacy, is a part of it. But to me, the hero here is Rey, and I want to see Rey as... I don't want to say Mother Jedi, but Rey is the Mother Jedi. She is the one who starts the new legacy.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe if he redeems himself, Kylo can help. But to me, he's done a lot of evil that he has to... We have to face facts that Kylo has done some very bad things. And he has to do certain... He can't just be like, I'm sorry, I'm turning to the light now. And I'm not saying Kylo has to die or anything like that.
I feel like he probably... I feel like he'll redeem himself, but he's got to eat it as well. Like I don't know whether you can conclude a Skywalker saga with him still alive. I think even Leia being alive is a little bit here nor there. Like I almost feel like if you're going to conclude the saga, it feels like the family almost has to be out of the picture. Like I feel like it doesn't really end with a dangling thread of an alive, good Kylo Ren hanging over.
Yeah, it's... And I this is not my idea. I've heard other people say this. I love the idea of Rey taking the Skywalker name, adopting it. But not as, the granddaughter or the daughter of Luke or the daughter of Leia.
Yeah, well, I mean, I sort of almost see a situation maybe where she's sort of like, well, if you're not going to, Kylo, you're not going to embrace this name, it means something, and if you're not gonna take it and give it the respect it deserves, I'll take it, and because the name's probably been dragged through the mud a little bit as well,
Yes, I think especially if everyone knows that he has that family tie, not just in the galaxy but also among us fans.
Yeah, they're sort of a 2 and 2, aren't they? The Skywalkers, you kind of got a couple of good ones, a couple of rotten ones. It's,
Right.
It's not a squeaky clean. It's not a squeaky clean name in the galaxy, really, is it?
No, it's not. But then, what is?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm not trying to put my. I'm trying not to give it too much thought, really. And it's just a weird one. Like from the stuff we've seen, it seems so all over the shop. Like I'm sort of hard. I'm finding it hard to put the stuff we've seen into a narrative. Like obviously when we get the trailer, maybe that'll help a little bit more. But again, it depends what we see, what we don't see, how much of the film we see. But as far as going, this is this part of the film, this is this part of the film, I tend to think that we haven't, like, even the lightsaber fight on the looks like the Death Star ruins won't be in the climax. I think it'll be earlier in the film. Yeah, it's hard to see where it goes. I think there's going to be a few left turns.
Yeah. What do you make of Palpatine coming back?
I don't mind it. I can certainly see why they've done it. I like the idea. I love the idea that they got rid of Snoke in Last Jedi and just cleared the decks of Luke and Snoke to push Rey and elevate Rey and Kylo. Because ultimately, if you've got those other two people, it becomes about them, and those guys will basically just follow what the others do to a point. So if you clear the decks of the more senior Force users, it does mean that Rey and Kylo become a focus. Obviously, where do you go then if Kylo's in charge? You obviously bring somebody in who's even higher than him as an enemy or as a sort of an obstacle, I suppose. So whether Kylo wants to destroy him or be him or emulate him or impress him or whatever. I had heard the rumor that maybe he's sort of possessing the Vader helmet, which I think could work. I think that's probably, as a thing that he's kind of been around him the whole time and just sort of messing with his head a little bit. But I don't know whether I want to see him, walking and talking so much. I kind of like the idea of him being a presence, but I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. What do you think?
No lightsaber fights in the
like him fighting a ghost Yoda and a
yeah. Before Celebration, I was very against the idea, because every now and then someone, well, what if they bring back Palpatine? And I was very against the idea. I love the character Snoke, and I want to know the story of how he fits into everything. But I agree with you. I'm glad they got rid of him. But now that they did, and we saw when we heard that laugh at Celebration, I think you were a few rows ahead of us for the Rise of Skywalker.
You were up with Hawes and Johnny up behind,
Yeah, I was going crazy, and I just love the idea of, because JJ said he talked to George, he talked to Ryan, he talked to Kasdan, truly tying together all 9 episodes. And I think that's a good way to do it. I just want to see how they do it.
And it certainly helps that they've cleared the decks of Snoke too, because otherwise you get this situation where it'd be kind of like a Count Dooku in 3. You got to kind of kill him off in the first 10 minutes of the film just to, so he's not in the way. But Snoke's a funny one. Like everybody has their Snoke theories and stuff. I mean, I always kind of pictured him as because it always feels like that they kind of know who he is, that he was like an industrialist or a rich industrialist or somebody that people knew who was involved with the Republic one way or another, and got cozied up to Luke and those guys at the Academy, maybe threw some bucks in or helped them out at one point, and then kind of felt like he could wander in and hang around as much as he liked, which gave him a chance to get close to Ben. But I don't know. The Palpatine will be,
it's something along those lines.
Yeah, that they seem to be familiar enough with him, so
right,
and at least trusted him to a point at one stage. But Palpatine, I'm not too sure. I've just been my brother-in-law left the Dark Jedi. No, is it Dark Jedi? No, Dark Empire comics around at my house the other day. and I was flicking through those, and they've got the resurrected Emperor in that, and it's so matter of fact. Like Luke just turns up, and the Emperor's there. He's like, "Oh, I thought I killed you." He's like, "No, I've died lots of times," and that's about all they do. Like it's so dismissed, and Luke just goes, "Oh, I thought this would," and he's just like, "I knew this would happen. Like I had a feeling I'd see you again, you wily old bugger."
Yeah, I liked those comics at the time, but I'm really hoping they don't go that route.
Yeah. I'm quite curious to see what they do. I mean, they've always managed to sort of surprise us, and sometimes you look at a way they do something, you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that? It just seems so obvious now, but I don't know. I mean, we'll know soon. I'm curious to see if this trailer that comes out, if it is next week, gives us even a look at him. Like, will we even? Do you think we'll even see? Yeah. Do you think they'll double down?
I'm sure we'll hear his voice.
Yeah,
because his voice is so unmistakable.
I think the voice was in the D23 footage a little bit, wasn't it? I think
it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
at the very end.
I'm not sure whether they. I mean, what else can they pull out of the hat? They already pulled the Dark Ray stuff, and they pulled the Palpatine. Like, where else do you go? Like, I don't know.
If that's the stuff we've seen, if that's the stuff we've seen, how crazy is the movie itself going to be?
Yeah, I could go for some crazy. I could go for some really kind of wacky out there things. I'm all for that, and obviously JJ's the king of the misdirect anyway, so it could be anything.
It could be the most boring movie in the world. It won't be. That's me trying to make a very bad joke.
Well, that's what you'll be saying, when you miss out on all those seats at the cinema. You miss out, you have to wait an extra day. You're like, well, it's probably the most boring movie in the world anyway. Whatever.
It sucks, and I didn't even see it.
Well, or maybe I went a couple of times. Oh, whatever. Yeah. I guess that bit was cool.
Yeah.
Now, Tom.
And I'll erase all my tweets after I see it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you don't have your own podcast, but you're a frequent contributor to many podcasts, including a few of your Patreon shows. Did you want to quickly burn through the list off the top of your head, if you can remember them?
Sure. I do Masters of Harvest Kasi with Hawes for the Blue Harvest podcast. Patreon, I should say. Page Wars with Steel for the Steel Wars Patreon.
Tom don't work for free normally.
I'm sorry?
I said Tom don't work for free normally.
No.
This is King Tom for free.
I'm a very
Tom.
lucky. I'm a very lucky person that I get to talk about Star Wars with my friends, and it's recorded. And then Seismic Charges with Luke Cruiser and Rashad Qasim for the Bad Motivators Patreon. And then I'm a regular or recurring segment on the Sith List.
You've been guest hosting on the Sith List as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I just show up sometimes, and then I also have emails to Blue Harvest and other fun podcasts.
Yeah, they're lovely, those boys, the old Blues Harvest boys. So that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you've almost maxed out. When I was sort of messaging, I'm going, I wonder if he's even got time. He's probably recording every night. I don't know. You're probably telling the wife, like, yeah, I've just got to record another stupid Star Wars thing again. Here we go.
No, I limit it. I have to know my limitations, especially with kids.
Yeah, I hear that. Absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. I can't believe it's taken this long, but it was great hanging out with you at Celebration. We'll get to do it all again in less than a year. It feels like anything that's less than a year feels like it's closer. It feels like it's tangible in our hands.
I suppose, but there's so much between now and then.
I know.
In a good way.
So much to talk about. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get you on again. We don't do Patreon here because I don't have the time, basically, and who's going to pay for it. But we'll get your post Rise of Skywalker thoughts one way or another, whether it's a full blown episode, or we'll maybe I'll just pay for some Patreon shows and I'll just steal some of their audio and put you in and just pretend that you're my.
I'll be back if you'll have me back.
Always a pleasure to have you back. Love to.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. You can find all our stuff at StarWarsSpelledOut.com. Thanks for everyone who's left a review. Keep doing that and giving us 5 stars in iTunes and so on and so forth. And thank you so much, Tom. Oh, hang on.
Josh.
Where can people find you on the social medias before we leave?
Oh, Tom Chansky on Twitter.
Beautiful. Nicely done. All right, mate. You take care.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you.